wrap-up of this arc, you see the TV report where Shido says the Phantom Thieves can't be trusted, even though they just took down a group that was threatening to destroy the entire country's economy. How would anybody buy this still? At this point that the Phantom Thieves are...
How did they do that? And what if they turn on... They have the power to take down a group that is threatening to take down the Japanese economy. So that must mean transitive properties, they can as well. So what happens if they turn evil? Who's gonna stop the Phantom Thieves should the gun get pointed at y'all?
It's very much like a Man of Steel Superman thing. I'm going a more real world thing. Are there people right now still not believing the coronavirus is real? As people literally die by the hundreds every day. What? Why wouldn't they think this is real? Who would believe that? Oh, a ton of Americans.
Bad guys. And how would this not damage Shido's public image as a politician trying to win votes when he's speaking poorly of a group that just saved...
It's almost like if you incite a certain demographic of the people, that they'll rabble-rouse you into office. Almost like Trump is president right now on the back of racism and immigration.
Wasn't at this point the little Phantom Thieves approval rating only like in the 40%?
Somewhere around there.
So they're not widely beloved.
Really popular and people see as heroes. Realistic.
Some people.
Spider-Man still hate it. Why? Because one newspaper keeps calling him out.
And hey, one politician, a trusted and known politician, going them bad. So that's good trust, bad trust, everything. So, this is just him making points. It's just all
like, get with the times, old man.
Regardless, we actually get to have some fun times, and there's a lot of bonding scenes. You get to go have sushi with Sojiro and Futaba. The party goes to the beach together, and there's even the Hawaii trip, which, while short, does feature some quality scenes. Although it's weird that Yusuke's school was supposed to go to LA, and it got diverted to Hawaii because of a bad storm. I guess no one in Atlas has looked at a map before. And it was only...
It's almost like weather can be bad in one area and good in another.
What if they were in Japan and just went, hey, okay, we're supposed to be going to LA, but hey, we can't. So it's not like as they were flying in the air, they just turned and went to Hawaii. They could have been in the airport and just went, okay, let's change our flights to where all the other students are currently.
One of my brothers works about 30 miles from where I work.
No, he doesn't. You're lying. Prove it. Where's the banjo music?
And he was going, we had a tremendous thunderstorm. Like, it was raining ridiculously. And I went, it didn't rain a drop in not my area. 30 miles apart.
No, this is just him going, this is good, but it's still Persona, so it's still bad.
Also, if there was a bad storm, the plane wouldn't have even taken off to begin with.
What?
What? So... Tokyo is closer to Hawaii
than
It's not like they have
look at that big chunk where the storm could have been. Wouldn't have taken off to begin with. What are you talking about?
It wouldn't have taken off for LA, which it did not. So they went, hey, instead we're going to Hawaii,
where it's safe. What's the problem? What's the deal? What's the problem?
Dude.
It's bad. It's bad because it's Persona, and I gotta find something.
There's still 2 hours left. There's still 2 hours left.
Ooh. Lordy.
Before, and it was only written this way so they could have a scene where the whole crew was surprised to see Yusuke walk up to them out of...
Yeah, it was absolutely written that way.
Mm-hmm. It was funny, though.
It worked. Oops, went back too far.
Surprised to see Yusuke walk up to them out of nowhere and go, what are you doing here? But of course, there probably wasn't that much thought put into the scene just so they could have everybody together during the
okay,
live.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It would...
Whatever.
100%.
Just whatever.
Yep. Whoops.
Getting back to the main plot, discord is brewing between the Phantom Thieves, and things seem to be building up to a disagreement, which is what kicks off the next section of the story. The fifth arc is where the stakes and tension in the story really ramp up, and things start to get serious for the Phantom Thieves. They know that Makoto's sister is looking into the mental shutdowns.
Getting expelled from school, going to jail,
getting expelled from school, and blackmailed.
The collapse of the Japanese government
Economy.
if you don't go to jail. But this is where it starts to get serious.
Want to stop the Phantom Thieves, so they have Makoto use a flash drive Futaba made for her to steal the data so they can analyze and figure out who they should be targeting next. We've seen glimpses of Sai's research before, and the part about the mental shutdowns is fine, but the way she tries to connect everything that happens to the Phantom Thieves always comes off as forced and doesn't really fit how smart Sai's supposed to be.
It's almost like sometimes detectives hone in on a certain suspect and they keep going after that suspect. It's almost like this might be her only lead. So she's pursuing it.
The mental shutdowns happen, and then like a month later, the Phantom Thieves come. You gotta think that there's some sort of connection there.
In a scene with Akechi earlier in the game, they talk about how the psychotic breakdowns and the change of hearts done by the Phantom Thieves are connected somehow, but Sai doesn't explain the connection between them, and it doesn't make any sense that she would connect them since one lead.
Mental shutdown, changing a heart. Hey, what are the Phantom Thieves doing? Because all these people are confessing. Are they using some type of psychotic drugs? Are they blackmailing these people to the point where they just go down and break down mentally and start confessing to their crimes? But what if the blackmail is too harsh for their minds and they shut down? Who the knows? Maybe I, as a detective, should detect what's going on.
She's not a detective. She's a prosecutor.
Whatevs.
I'm just saying. We don't want to misrepresent him.
We don't want to misrepresent these characters. You are 100% correct. I'm glad you're here, Anne.
He's a bum!
Confessing their crimes, and the other causes immediate death. In the larger narrative of the game, these are connected through the metaverse, but Sai doesn't even know that it exists. I guess it's just in the Nijima bloodline.
She's trying to figure it out.
Why are you slagging off so hard on Naruto and anime? You just have a hate boner for anime and Naruto.
I don't understand. Where do you go? It's like you said, this is their best lead. So of course she's gonna track it down.
And hey, if she hits a dead end, okay. Just gotta hope some other lead comes along.
Or at least you'll figure out more about the mental shutdowns or something.
I guess it's just in the Nijima bloodline to have massive leaps of logic that turn out to be true. After realizing this,
they're super smart. Both of them are shown to be super smart and super competent. She wasn't like, oh yeah, they're going into people's palaces to change their heart in the metaverse and everything. I already know this. She going, there is a connection here. And all of a sudden she's a 100 million IQ person? What?
School's principal is worthless to Shido. Sai's boss orders him to be killed, and he suffers a mental shutdown in the middle of the street and gets hit by a truck. When Sai learns about this,
slowly rounding a corner and still manages to hit him and kill him on impact. Yes. Mm-hmm. People die from 5-mile-an-hour accidents.
He was hit by a very big truck. He didn't break in time. He was kind of already dead because of the heart attack that he suffered.
Gets hit by a truck. When Sai learns about this and brings it up to Makoto, she says that since none of the circumstances surrounding his death add up, she suspects he's been targeted by the Phantom Thieves and had a change of heart. The random mental shutdowns have been happening far before the Phantom Thieves have even been a thing.
And before she knew they were a thing.
Before they announced themselves publicly.
Kingdom Hearts 3? Honestly, dude? Maybe either don't show this or crop it out or something.
That it doesn't seem like something the Phantom Thieves would do, since they usually make people...
This is a long scene of her just opening and closing her mouth. You probably could have got rid of the Kingdom Hearts out.
You could have just taken the top half of somebody else's playthrough and just sort of cookie cuttered it out and put it over it.
The top half of your own playthrough, because it's just right here.
Minor thing.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Nitpick.
But I was distracted.
brings up that it doesn't seem like something the Phantom Thieves would do, since they usually make people confess, but of course, this goes completely ignored. In a scene from the future, Sai even admits
maybe doesn't she go? Maybe they're changing their method of operation or something like that. Maybe they're
targeting people that are getting too close to them, trying to figure out exactly who they are.
In a scene from the future, Sai even admits that it wouldn't have made sense for the Phantom Thieves to kill their own principal, but in the timeline, this takes place after Sai's had her treasure stolen, so there's no way to know if this is something she really believed.
She didn't get her treasure stolen. They said quite clearly we didn't steal her treasure. That was fake. You weren't paying attention the 2 times that you played the game. The 2 times within the game that they explained their plan.
And in the future, she says it wouldn't make sense for them to have killed their principal. But she didn't know they were students at the time. No, she made those deductions.
They were some dudes. And again, this is months later after the principal died. So that's even more investigation time, more research, more everything, more information, everything. So now she's just like, now that I see that you're students, it doesn't make sense.
Part of her change. After getting together to look at Sai's data, Futaba tells the group that the one person who has been benefiting from all the mental shutdowns has been the CEO of Okumura Foods, and he just so happens to have a palace. He's also ranked 1 on the website's poll of who the Phantom Thieves should target next. Futaba, Morgana, and Ryuji all want to make him their next target, but Makoto, Ann, and Yusuke are all apprehensive since they want to lay low for a while. They don't know for sure that he's evil, even though stealing a palace's treasure has always strictly been a good thing. Morgana lashes out at the team.
Pause. You just said they don't know if they're evil. So if they're a good person, what are they going to be? Gooderer? What? Why would they have to steal his heart if there's nothing wrong with them? If he's just a little bit of a douchebag, why? Are they just going to steal everybody's heart just to make everybody 100% good as opposed to 80-90% good?
Hesitating to go after a bad guy, and this especially
they don't know he's a bad guy.
With the team for hesitating to go after a bad guy, and is especially mean to Ryuji, and then leaves saying that he doesn't belong in the group and that he'll go to the palace by himself. This whole thing of Morgana feeling left out by the Phantom Thieves has been set up for a while, but it's a contrived scenario with no redeeming qualities at all.
How is it contrived when it's been set up for a while? Hey, Makoto's super smart and doing all strategy. Why y'all need me?
Futaba is a way better navigator. Provably. She's a way better strategist. Provably.
Why y'all need me?
And Ryuji straight up goes, we don't need you. So, hey, that's contrived that they don't need me.
And did he say there's no redeeming qualities or some
but it's a contrived scenario with no redeeming qualities at all.
0 redeeming quality. There is nothing that redeems the storyline at all.
It's character growth for both Morgana and Ryuji.
Part of the reason he gets mad is that he's trying to delude himself into believing that he's human, when deep down he knows that he's not, since he's been having nightmares about his birth. But no one on the Phantom Thieves ever deeply...
Hey, what if he's in denial? And what if he's lashing out because of his denial? It's almost like emotions are a complex thing, and you don't just go, why him acting like this when him no?
Him mad, why? No makes sense.
He's not, since he's been having nightmares about his birth, but no one on the Phantom Thieves ever deeply questions him or calls him out on it. If anything,
nobody knows he has these dreams.
Questioning him and calling him out about what?
What are they supposed to call out in question if they don't even know he's going through this?
So call them out on the thing that you don't know?
of him through it all. Leading up to this scene, there were multiple times where Morgana feels dejected and the others reassure him, like Futaba saying that she'll analyze Sai's data and gets praised. Morgana butts in about how he's important too, downplaying her since he could turn into a car. Ryuji tells him to not to try to compete with Futaba, since she could analyze data on a computer, which is a thing that Morgana can't do at all. And Anne even says, "You're fine the way you are, Morgana," but this doesn't help his mood. Then when most of the team is in...
Yes! He's cute like a toy? Like an animal? Not like an equal? You're cute? That's not what he wants to be seen as. He feels lesser and she's going, you're cute. People don't want to be called I'm useful. Nah, you're cute. I'd be like, Bit what?
I'm useful. Oh, that's cute.
I'm like,
Why, and Morgana's hanging out with Futaba as she deciphers the information. Morgana gets pissy and mumbles to himself about how
that's
the only
not
thing
pissy. He's
good for
depressed. He's questioning his role in the group. That's not pissy at all.
Who was pissy was Ryuji.
about how the only thing he's good for is driving them around in mementos. Futaba sees him being gloomy and starts to pet him, then offhandedly mentions that it's hard to believe that he's human because his fur is so soft. Morgana states once again that he's human, and Futaba reminds him that maybe he has the wrong idea, like she did with her mom for such a long time. Here's the best part though. Once again, Morgana says that he is definitely human and he knows himself better than anybody else.
It's almost like he's in a deep denial.
He's trying to both convince her and himself. What's wrong with this?
Futaba just says, yeah, that's true, and moves on. Doesn't grill him, doesn't belittle him, or talk down to him.
She got work to do. She's like, yep, whatever you gotta do whatever you need to do to sleep at night. That's literally what it is. Yep, whatever.
Him
back to
talk
work.
Down to him. She agrees that she doesn't know him as much as Morgana and moves on after trying to cheer him up. Even in the scene where Morgana runs away, his criticism of Ryuji is that Ryuji backs down when someone disagrees with him, which might have been an okay line if it didn't come immediately after Ryuji challenges Anne on the idea that they should wait to not target Okumura. The only somewhat understandable reason for Morgana to leave is shown in one line presented as a flashback, where Ryuji says that Futaba is more useful than Morgana during the Megiddo.
He just said, maybe I'm just useful as a car. He was just talked down to as cute. This isn't the only scene.
Especially when you yourself said it's been building up.
It's taken out of context when it happened to come off more as banter between friends than a real argument. Makoto and Anne even mentioned at the time that this is just how their team dynamic is. There really is no reason for Morgana to be angry, much less angry at his literal only friends.
That's his own insecurity. If I got a lazy eye and people keep talking about it, I'm like, hey, y'all, calm down.
Someday you're going to be like, wow, why y'all keep talking about my eye?
It's an insecurity that's been building up and it's finally come to a head.
Literal only friends. But it happens anyway, because despite the fact that they all clearly care about Morgana and praise him constantly, the game needs drama and a convenient excuse to add Haru to your squad.
Yeah, that's why. Drama.
No, he said that I was fine before you guys and I'll be fine after you guys. Peace out. That's his mindset.
To be emotional and make you think that the team is breaking up, but it doesn't get any chance to have any impact, because 2 days after Morgana leaves, the Phantom Thieves decide to go to Okumura's palace to find Morgana.
Can we actually see if that was 2 days? Because I don't believe him.
No, it's 2 days.
I just don't believe him.
Because 2 days after Morgana leaves, the Phantom Thieves decide to go to Okumura's palace to find Morgana and bring her back.
Or,
For this palace, the group once again decides that the best place to warp into the palace is in middle of the fucking plaza in front of Big Bang Burger's corporate headquarters.
Yep.
Which is definitely something that won't have any impact on the plot at all in the future. In the plaza, they meet up to go into the palace. And
they aren't good.
Yeah, no.
I'm not good.
They should have went behind something or something. Yeah, no, 100%.
Futaba if she figured out the keywords, which she obviously did, and that they are the headquarters, which he thinks of as outer space. The group jokes around for a bit about his palace being in space and the restaurant having Big Bang in the name, but no one at all questions how the hell Futaba figured this out. This is the only palace in the whole game where the group doesn't have to actively figure out the keywords to get.
They just figured it out. Morgana got into the palace, so he figured it out. And he's a cat who only goes where Joker goes. Who only sees what Joker sees. It's understandable. Not an issue.
Character just off screen manages to just know all the information and you can just go in from the very start. I guess the information that Futaba hacked their way into was the game's script. Every other palace has been a fantastical place, sure, but I can't possibly understand how she figured out that his delusion was all of outer space, and even then, why specifically his corporate headquarters as a space station? If it's metaphorical and he's launching into politics, then his palace should have been a building connected to politics in some way, or
Matter reason is because Shido's Palace is a politics building and they do not want to reuse locations here. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. It's not just that they went, hey, Big Bang Burger, maybe out of space.
It's not also because it's treasure directly ties into the space theme and how he wanted to go into space.
And isn't the way they figure out the keywords, they just go, is it this? 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 And then it gets a ping. So maybe Futaba went Big Bang Burger outer space and it pinged.
Yes. Easy. Not an issue. Does he want another scene of them sitting around going this, and this? They're fine scenes, but it's an issue.
We know how it works.
Yeah, no, we got it.
We see how they deduce the stuff.
Or even his home. In the space station itself, they see that Okamura has robots being overworked until they break all over the place. And Makoto once again comes in with her genius deduction skills and says that this is pure speculation, but this is most likely how the workers of Okamura Foods are viewed by their CEO. So you're telling me the robot...
Where does she say this is pure speculation? I was wearing this...
with her genius deduction skills and says that this is pure speculation, but this is most likely how the workers of Okamura Foods are viewed by their CEO. So you're telling me the robots working in the Okamura space station factories are representing the workers in the Okamura food factories.
Wow, that's like symbolism.
Pause. It's also for you, the player. In case you didn't fully understand it, now you go, okay, this dude is really a piece of crap if you did not understand it.
I'm sorry we can't all be as smart as you, Cvit, where you could just look at a bunch of robots and go, oh, this is the workers and automatons and that's how the CEO. I'm sorry, some people may have to have that explained to them.
And I'd rather have that explained to them so they can get it and can fully understand and appreciate the story. And me having to take out 3 minutes of time for them to explain and exposit why exactly this is bad. I'd rather have that than it not be there. And I got it.
Ryuji calls him a piece of shit, and then they move on. They do end up finding Morgana, along with someone else who was helping him. They insult you for a while, and then attract the attention of too many enemies and leave, despite the fact that the masked person with Morgana looks exactly like Haru, and has Haru's hair and her voice, and the crew has just seen Haru at the fireworks festival.
Pause.
I'm sorry. Can you recall somebody you saw like 6 days ago for the first time for literally like 11 seconds? Oh, please do a police, because people are victims of crimes and they will get a police sketch that is like 60% accurate.
They saw her from across the street when it was raining so hard.
Fireworks festival and watering the plants in front of the school.
Yeah.
Watering the plants in front of the school.
That's why we should pay attention.
Yep.
And chaperoned with Makoto in Hawaii.
Where they talked to her for 5 seconds. Didn't even get her name. Well-behaved girl.
How pretty she was every single time. No one could figure out that it was Haru, despite thinking that she's very familiar.
Pause. Go back a little bit.
Who knows her name?
Just go back a little bit. Okay. Yeah, it's about 7 days. But still, no.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen her before too. They recognize that they know the person roughly, but they don't know A, her name, or B, they can't attach it to the face. It's like when you know something in your mind and you go, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't get it out. That's what it is.
They're supposed to instantly recognize her and just go, oh, that's Haru Okamura, I mean.
Out that it was Haru, despite thinking that she's very familiar. Not that
very
it matters,
familiar.
Since the next day, Makoto decides to have everybody go look through the yearbooks to find this person's face, and they end up finding out that it's Haru immediately anyways. They confront her at school and ask her to join them, but she refuses, saying that she'll work alone with Morgana and won't help the Phantom Thieves when they won't even help their own teammate. Because, you know, Morgana ignoring his best friends Joker and Anne asking him to stay and choosing to leave despite no one doing anything bad to him somehow counts as the Phantom Thieves not wanting to help Morgana.
Pause. What did Morgana tell her? Did he just go, oh, they cast me out, those pieces of crap? Do you think that he told her the whole story? Really?
On top of that, how are they helping him find out he's human? Maybe in his mind, they're not really helping him. In the warped Morgana way that he is right now.
Haru also reveals the secret of how she got into the metaverse here. In quotes, I saw a cat in front of our office building, and then when I followed him, I ended up in the metaverse. What kind of fucking explanation is that? Literally, how does that...
Yes, just A. Yes.
He went to go chase after the cat. The cat went into the metaverse. She was around the area and got sucked in.
Makes sense.
Make any fucking sense.
Oh, I guess not.
How did they not ever bring in hundreds of people every time they infiltrated Kanashiro's palace?
Yeah, that sucked. But we don't know how close Haru was.
Yeah.
We don't know how close these people were. And anytime anybody's been sucked in, it's only been one person sucked in. So maybe only one person can get sucked in at a time that's in the peripheral area. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know all the rules, which
it's not good.
Yeah, it'd be better if we knew all the rules, but you know.
Street in broad daylight when anybody could apparently get into the metaverse by just following a cat. And how did Morgana even figure out that the palace was a space station? Morgana doesn't...
Hey, did he deduce it like they
always do?
Palace? Huh. Morgana is a cat, a magical cat, that has nothing else going on. So he can run through 1,000 scenarios to find the hits.
Have the metaverse navigation app, but he can presumably go in and out of palaces whenever he wants because of his relationship to mementos. But he seems to still need to know what he's looking for, since he doesn't know beforehand that Madarame has a palace in his art and even works with a team to help them figure out what he thinks of his house as. You could say that Futaba used her mega hacking skills to find out something about Haru's dad relating to space, but how in the world does Morgana...
He owns Big Bang Burger, the space burger company. So maybe the one thing that we know about him is the thing that his palace is gonna be.
Hey, remember when I said we had 2 hours left? We've done 8 minutes.
Who is just a regular cat in the human world, unless he could enter any palace at will and knows about all of them, but then also plays along with the party.
He guessed what it is. Like they have been shown to guess what it is.
Doesn't ever reveal this and then acts clueless when they get into one? Actually, now that I think about it, how did he even get into Kamoshida's palace in the first place? You meet him there in one of the cells, but he was born in mementos, so he had to have figured out Kamoshida's keywords somehow. Morgana, as always, being a very consistent and well-written character. After this great explanation from Haru, the team goes to stake out mementos and wait for Morgana to show up and confront him. When they meet Morgana and mementos, Anne apologizes, saying that they weren't taking Morgana's feelings into consideration. Ryuji gives a half-assed apology, they bicker some more, and then they leave mementos separately. Haru and Morgana run into her fiance, who calls Haru a slut and tries to force himself onto her, and punch Morgana into a wall, which scrambles his brains. Maybe that's why he doesn't care about treasure anymore. The Phantom Thieves were apparently standing right around the corner from this, and the sound of Morgana's brain falling out of his ears alerts them that something is happening. So they come in and drive the man away. After Haru explains that he's her fiance, they all go back to LeBlanc, and Morgana makes up with the team, bringing an end to this thrilling 4-day-long narrative. The reason for the fighting between the Phantom Thieves only becomes even more confusing and contrived in a text conversation that you have right after. Ryuji texts the group asking what they're going to do about Okamura. Ryuji was the one pushing for people to target Okamura the night that Morgana left, so that's okay. But then Yusuke is the first person to answer and says that, of course, no one is going to back down now, since Okamura is likely involved with the mental shutdown, and then replies agreeing with Yusuke, saying that they can't let something like this slide. Now, between the last time they talked about targeting Okamura and now, you have gone to the palace and see how he treats his workers. But when Ryuji wants to talk about how shitty of a person he is, Futaba, one of the people who also want to change Okamura's heart, reminds him that they're only there to find Morgana and to not do anything about him. The team never discusses that they're going to actually target him ever again after this. The reason why the conversation is so strange is because Anne and Yusuke were the two biggest critics of the plan and were the ones who started...
Yeah, because they didn't know if he was a bad guy.
Yes, and now that they do see that he's a bad guy, they see that. And I can understand her going, Morgana's the main issue here, is because he's, number one, a member of their team. Number two, if he gets captured, he can just rat them out. Number three, what if he gets killed by himself? We've seen how dangerous the palaces are. They're worried about him. Why is that an issue?
fight with Morgana in the first place. Yusuke says that the data they found from Sai linking Okamura to the mental shutdowns, in quotes, doesn't necessarily mean that he's evil, and Anne wants to let things calm down a bit first before taking any actions. Then Yusuke comes into the next conversation.
People are getting hurt definitively and provably. He is evil, and he sees them as nothing but workers. A robot falls down and just like throw him in the trash and replace him. So they're like this as they're standing around going, oh, maybe should we, shouldn't we? People are getting hurt. Lives are getting ruined. And they don't want this because they have the power to change it. What's the problem?
Acting like it's obvious that they're going to target Okamura because of his link to the shutdowns. Motherfucker, you're the one who was questioning this in the first place.
It's almost like people's mind can be changed when they're presented with new information. Why should they just stay stagnant and head fast in this?
This doesn't mean he's evil. And then they go into his palace and see provable evil acts. And then they're just like, well, they want to target him now. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Well, I guess not. We're the dumb ones.
Says that they clearly can't let him off the hook with the information they have when she was arguing that they shouldn't do anything and just wait before.
Because she didn't know what he was doing.
Information linking him to the mental shutdowns. The only difference now is that they have undeniable proof that he's treating his workers poorly, but they already knew this. And this whole conversation...
They didn't know this. It was only rumored.
In text is referring to mental shutdowns. They're not even talking about the employees. I just wish characters had any form of consistency between scenes. This is ridiculous, and it only gets worse from here on out. After this, Haru asks for a meeting with everybody, and she tells them that her dad is going to force her to move in with her abusive fiance, and asks if it's okay to join the Phantom Thieves, which everybody agrees on. They then decide that the day that she's supposed to move in with her fiance is the day they need to change Haru's dad by, so he could call off the marriage. Morgana has a great line here where he just casually mentions that Haru is weak and has no powers. You would think after everything Morgana just went through and felt after being called useless, he would choose his words more carefully about their...
She could get killed. I don't care about sensitivity or anything like that. She's weak. She's pretty weak. She's barely awakened her powers. So you call that out. Don't go, okay, no, she's not very good, but, and then Joker like, okay, let's put her in the front lines, and she gets decapitated. How's Morgana feeling? Now maybe just like pull Joker off to the side, like, yeah, she's not very, but yeah, no, this isn't a problem.
Terrible situation, but you know, that's just Morgana for you. The choice to target Haru's dad and not the abusive fiance is also pretty confusing, especially since nothing is ever done about him after this part of the game. This is a similar situation to Kaneshiro, where Haru's dad is the big bad that we have to target, but we don't really have any attachment to him.
Oh my goodness. We don't have any attachment to the fiance. Point blank period. And the fiance is just a piece of crap. That's all he is.
He's just a e-person.
Yeah, that's a momentous at best. This dude is subjugating hundreds to thousands of employees. Plus selling his daughter off to marriage.
While going through his palace, there are even some lines that he shows that he's realizing he's being a terrible person, but justifies his actions because he fears losing everything he has built using force. So he's far from irredeemable.
And his distortion spawned from childhood trauma, which is more than I could say for any of the other villains.
So now we're getting development and it's still bad?
Yeah, because we have no attachment to him.
We do. We have Haru.
It's not like we can gain attachment now. The Phantom Thieves can gain attachment now because one of their Phantom Thieves are part of it and his daughter, and is constantly talking to him. And through that, we have an attachment through the Phantom Thieves. No, it's not like that. It's not like that's what's happening.
Nope.
Hey, this is just some random dude on the streets that they're just like, oh, we got to take that down.
Everything he has built using force, so he's far from irredeemable. Meanwhile, every time we see Haru's fiance in the entire game, he's an unapologetic asshole who threatens everyone around him for the smallest of things that he perceives are slights against him.
Pause.
He's a douchebag.
If we change his heart, and we don't change Okamura's, we change his heart and he stopped being a douchebag and go, okay, we're not getting married. And then Okamura's just like, okay, I'm just going to sell you off to another dude.
While I still hurt my employees every day.
Yes. He probably should have gotten more Mentos, absolutely. But
He punts Morgana into a wall, calls Haru fat, implies that she's sleeping around, forcefully grabs her and hurts her, and menacingly tells the Phantom Thieves that he won't forget their faces when they get in his way to save Haru. It's not like Haru's dad doesn't deserve to have his heart changed, but Haru even tells the group that she doesn't really care about the awful things he's done, and the only reason she wants to change his heart is that she doesn't want to get married. This is why the group decides to help her too. The countdown timer you have to change her dad's heart even says days till Haru is sold off. Okumura is the greater evil in the general sense because of the way he ties into the main story.
It's a provable time limit. Yeah, he's hurting the employees, and changing his heart is going to change all of that. But this is a provable time limit that they have to do this by. So I can understand the time limit thing.
Mental shutdowns, but all the focus in this part of the story is on Haru's fiance. Even when you go into the palace, the trigger for Haru awakening her persona is the cognitive version of her fiance turning into a giant robot and attempting to attack her.
What else
and
would
when
it
the
be?
rest of the group goes in to save her,
You can't fight the dad right now. It's a boss.
and Morgana all talk to the robot as if he was real. Yusuke says that they can't reason with him, which should be obvious because he's not real, and Morgana says that they're there to take his bride. From the way that the Phantom Thieves are addressing the situation, it seems like what they should have been doing all along is taking care of the fiancé first and then the dad second. If they changed the fiancé's heart, he probably would have called off the marriage anyway.
Nah, that's not necessarily true. He could have just been like, I was treating you like I'm going to be a better person, but we still getting married.
Yes. But going straight after Okumura, that takes out both of them. Okumura, I keep forgetting. Okumura, and that takes out both of them.
And he's far more evil than most of the memento request targets you get. So even if he doesn't have...
No, there was a momentous dude that was killing cats. A lot of cats.
There was also a serial killer hobo.
That you mentioned.
Palace, his shadow should at least be in mementos. Once again, the meta
Yeah. He definitely should have got a mementos.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have a palace because I don't think he thinks he rules over anything. He's just kind of a douchebag.
Yeah.
And there are very many douchebags in this world. They're not necessarily evil. They're just dicks.
is that they didn't want to devote resources to making two palaces for one section of the story. But in the end,
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Do you have any evidence for that, or are you just spouting bullshit?
Kamoshida got away with no repercussions, with tons of buildup and no payoff. Instead, you only get to change Okumura's heart, because even though everyone agrees that Haru is in a fucked situation and needs help, they all just kind of accept that her dad has full control over her life. Now we could finally start looking at the dungeon itself, and boy, did it make me want to blow my brains out. Space stations make for a really good set piece, and the hyper-clean futuristic look is sleek, but for a place you're supposed to be in for multiple hours, it gets old incredibly quick.
Everything just gets so old for you so fast. What do you want? Do you want every room to be decorated differently? Every hallway to be some labyrinth of intricate paintings? What do you want?
What does he want? He wants like this open world JRPG, legitimately. And it's not feasible.
It is feasible. It's just not. You cut a lot of corners.
Would be like 20 hours.
You cut a lot of corners. The Atelier games now are open world. But you cut a lot of corners.
Is that the one with the bathing suit, super armor? That's quality.
Yes, that's how they make a lot of their money. Waifu dress up. It's not good, but I love those games.
Different sections, each with their own type of puzzle, but they're all far too long and repetitive. The first part of the dungeon is...
Everything's just repetitive. Here's the thing.
But the Makoto one was too short and just went away after a while. So it's too long, too short. You Goldilocking it, homie.
As I was saying, the word repetitive gets thrown around a lot in a negative connotation, but
I think it's pretty iconic.
But repetitive in it of itself is not a terrible thing to be. As I've always said, all video games, by their very nature, are repetitive. Mm-hmm. It's all repetition. You're basically doing the same thing over and over with a new coat of paint for upwards of 30, 40 hours. You're just doing the same stuff.
Nothing wrong with it.
So just going repetitive tells me nothing.
Yeah, no. You sit down and play cards. That's repetitive. Same, you got the same 52 cards in different orders. I love the Muso games. Love them. They're basically just press square and triangle till you kill everything. Repetition is nothing. It's not good nor bad.
Up into multiple sections, each locked behind a door that requires a certain keycard to open. These sections are all only made up of hallways with no decorations at all except for these holographic potted plants that are copy and pasted everywhere. There are multiple supervisors in each section and only one of them has the keycard you need to move forward. What the game expects you to do is to walk into some of the rooms where robots are working to eavesdrop on them.
Yes, that's what I did!
Yeah.
What do you mean the game expects you to do? Because it sounds like you're about to say, but what you need to actually do or what happens is, when I did exactly what the game wanted me to do and got the key card.
To eavesdrop on them to learn about which supervisor has the key card. And when you go to the supervisors, you could talk them into giving you the key card. But moving between different rooms to get small snippets of information is a long and boring process.
I enjoyed it!
No, you're not allowed to. It's long and boring. Not good. It's automatically not good. Yep, it can't be.
But he talks all that crap about being a stealth game and blah, blah, blah. And this is a very stealthy, like, hit the mic. A very stealthy, like, getting information part of the level, which is what he would potentially want, especially since he likes something like Metal Gear.
He doesn't want it now. He wanted it then, but not now. Now it's a problem.
I don't know.
Is a long and boring process. The supervisor fights aren't difficult, and if you solve the area by talking to the supervisors, you miss out on experience you get from fighting them. All this leads to the best solution being to simply ignore the eavesdropping mechanic and fight all the supervisors instead so you can level up faster and save time.
What if you don't need to level up when you're level 90 heading into a 60 level palace? Dude. Maybe you want to actually do this mechanic, bruh. Again, I enjoyed the mechanic. I had fun picking everything.
Yep.
Unlock more sections of the hallways, supervisors start showing up in the earlier areas, so you need to backtrack to them. So every time you want to move to a different section, you are forced to watch an agonizingly slow door opening animation, and it makes the entire section such a chore to go through.
I don't believe you.
I'm so glad. Yes.
It could be Murray.
Yeah, but even if it is, that's what, 2-3 times?
That's still a lot of time. That was a long opening sequence.
That's nothing to complain about. I'd be like, that door was took a little long.
Nah.
That'd be it for me.
But here's the thing. I'm saying this now, but I didn't recognize it at the time. I didn't even think about, why is this taking so long to open?
Anything that he just goes, that's automatically write it down and put it in the script. Any little thing.
Definitely the worst, where we're introduced to the best mechanic in the game, lunch breaks. This entire section is drab and boring with
oh my goodness. Pause. So now the hallways is a problem. Now this with the lunch break and the conveyor belt is a problem. Didn't you just say the whole palace was just a hallway with nothing on the walls and now it's this? Doesn't matter. Oh, but now you get something else, but it's also bad. What is this perfect Persona game in your mind? Please, he really doesn't say how to improve these things. He just complains about them.
This is what I think the real problem is of what he wanted out of this, or the real problem he has with Persona 5 in general. People really like Persona 4 and Persona 3, but a lot of people love Persona 5, think it's the best JRPG, it's their favorite JRPG, and it's coming for the head of his king, Final Fantasy VII. So he's just like, oh no, I gotta tear this all the way down to show y'all why this isn't sniffing the robes of Final Fantasy and the Final Fantasy series in 7. That's what I think his actual problem with Persona 5 is. Because a lot of things we are talking about is problem in all Persona games. But he's just going, Persona 5 sucks all the balls.
belts and machines everywhere. And the deal here is that you need to bridge the gap between sections. You need to set the claw machines to a high speed so they break so you could use them to walk across. To get to the control panels of these machines though, you often need to slide across these pistons that are all over the place, but these pistons also have control panels which allow you to trigger lunch breaks that last for 30 seconds. The trick here is that the control panels for the pistons are usually pretty far away from the pistons themselves.
Yeah, run,
so you need
go,
to activate
fast.
the lunch break and then run for the pistons.
Yes,
to
it's a
make it
puzzle.
time. This isn't exactly a difficult task though, so to make things even more fun, the game respawns the enemies between the control panel and the piston sometimes. The lunch break timer doesn't stop in combat, so getting into a fight means you need to go back to the control panel and restart.
Hey, don't get hit.
Don't get hit. Use that sneaker mechanic that you hate so much.
But not always.
Pause.
And I couldn't figure.
He said that it sometimes spawns new enemies, and then he says it happens every time.
No, he said this doesn't happen every time. I believe he said, and he couldn't figure out what triggered it. But again, that's just like with the knockdown mechanic where he couldn't figure out how to do the holdups. It's very possible that he just didn't understand the mechanic here, and now he's complaining about it. But I personally don't remember the palace myself.
Yeah,
so
I felt I had no problems with that.
I don't think I ever fought somebody when I was running for those panels.
If I did, it was once or twice, and it was like, okay, I guess I got to turn around and do it again.
Means you need to go back to the control panel and restart. It happens nearly every time, but not always, and I couldn't figure out what made the enemies respawn or not. But either way, this section is fucking infuriating. It somehow managed to both bore me to sleep and make me unreasonably angry. When enemies spot you,
he's just going, it made me have two negative feelings. Two very bad negative feelings. I doubt that it did, homie. You can't be both super angry and sleepy. That's adrenaline. That wakes you up. You're
His
being
whole thing
hyperbolic.
was he was very bored by it, but he was very frustrated by it. It's very much like the DSP way of going, this section is consistently frustrating me, so I'm yawning to exercise. This is just a boring section because I'm not progressing.
I hate that.
for you, but it's not like there's a stealth path that you're supposed to take.
You went you went to this 1-inch gap to the left of him as opposed to this huge gap to the right of him. That was your own fault.
Also, that was a horrible audio edit I just heard, but the distance is too far with the timer, too short to wait in the sparse cover for enemies to pass you. Not to mention they would just turn around and see you even if you do that.
You can run. And this is
They run.
circumstantial evidence, but not circumstantial.
Anecdotal.
I didn't have a problem. But look at that! Look at the gap that he tried to go through.
Yeah, that was.
You're a fool.
Enemies spot you, they run for you, but it's not like there's a stealth path that you're supposed to take to get to the conveyor belts. I genuinely have no idea what the developers were thinking when putting this here. All it does is slow the game to a grinding halt and kills any drive I had to keep playing.
I didn't have an
Don't
issue.
forget, every time you also need to trigger a lunch break, you will watch an agonizingly slow animation of the pistons slowing down until they stop, and when the 30-second timer is up...
Agonizing?
That was like 5 seconds.
Then again, maybe his footage is sped up.
I don't think it was. That didn't look like it.
Who knows?
But even if it was, wouldn't he want to show that it's an agonizing
You
thing?
are correct.
Cutscene where the pistons slowly start to full speed again. This section is once again a boring slog that requires no thought, just trial and error. We're also supposed to believe that Okamura is a bad enough boss that he implements a lunch break that is literally...
Hey, you should have thought and went around that enemy instead of going in the narrowest space possible.
You got through him very easily this time, dude. It wasn't an issue.
boss that he implements a lunch break that is literally 30 seconds long, but there's also no set limit on how many times you could activate the breaks, rendering it kind of worthless, since you could theoretically just keep queuing them up over and over again and have a break as long as you want. Gameplay wise, the game has to allow you to keep retrying
It's hyperbolic. Do we really think that he sees himself as an astronaut, or is that just his cognition? He's just like, employees go on break, come back fast, and it's just like 30 seconds. It's not an
The
issue.
game has to allow you to keep retrying and activating the timers as many times as you want, but it clashes with the image of Okamura the game is trying to build. The final section of this dungeon consists of airlock puzzles, where you need to travel through space between the different parts of the space.
These frustrated me.
You know what? It frustrated me the first time, but the second time when I played it in Royal, I didn't really have an issue.
on your way to the treasure. Now you might be asking yourself, wait a minute, how are the characters supposed to survive floating in space?
Yeah, that's what we're asking ourselves. Yep. Why are the characters surviving in this magical world floating through actual space? It's almost like they're not floating through actual space.
With no protection to travel between unconnected sections of the space station. Because like we've seen in previous dungeons, for example Futaba's, the palace itself actually simulates what the conditions of the location is like how it was scorching hot in the desert. And that's a very valid question you'd be asking, one which Ann and Yusuke posed themselves. Now, there is a very good explanation for this given by Futaba, and the answer is when you're floating unprotected in space, in quotes, apparently you'll be okay for like 30 seconds if you keep your eyes and mouth shut. Wow. Someone called NASA because Futaba just figured it all out. All astronauts have to do to not freeze in 3 Kelvin temperatures and not suffer any harmful effects from the...
Nah, that's pretty bad. Or maybe it's not actually space. Maybe it works because it's not actually space. I don't know.
Of space and radiation is just keep their eyes and mouth closed. God damn it, Miss Frizzle.
Or was Futaba joking there?
Could have been. That well did seem like a joke.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to have to like go do research.
Yeah,
and
no, it's not worth it. I'm trying to expedite this. Right?
Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and just go, yeah, that's pretty bad.
To them. You see, until Arnold opened his eyes, he didn't start freezing here, proving Futaba right. Futaba's next line is that she used to think that you would just explode in outer space with no protection, which is reasonable, and implies that she learned her revolutionary eyes-closing tech from somewhere, but she never tells you how she got the information. Maybe she just made it up. That probably makes more sense than whatever explanation the game would actually give you for this. Now, the airlock puzzle itself is incredibly simple. There are a bunch of different stages that introduce more airlocks to go through, and levers that switch airlocks on and off. But the answer to the puzzle is always just...
Pause real quick? Something like there would be like, it'd be really good. Like a NASA did a study in 2003 that said this, and this happens when you go into space. And then juxtapose that with what Futaba said. Instead of just going, no, you know what happens in space.
And making it seem like the game is just so stupid.
Yeah.
Pull every lever you come across.
Couldn't be bothered, I guess.
And that's it. This is the answer for every single puzzle that involves an airlock.
Amazing.
The personas in this dungeon have the same issue as in Kanashiro's, where most of them don't really fit either the theme of space or with Okamura himself. Some of the personas you fight here include Belphegor, Arahabaki, Mothman, and this one whose name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, which as far as I can tell are just random picks. Dekarabia and Kaiwan look weird enough to be aliens and they're star shaped, but that's really it. And this just makes the choice of personas for Futaba's dungeon even more confusing. Some of the personas here are...
Why? She was... you know, it's again, you're trying to force a thematic through line, and it's only based on the first 2 palaces, which had mythical Japanese creatures, which all the Persona games do, and a bunch of personas that all the Persona games have in Pixie and the Jacks. Why cut the number down to keep the theme consistent if the next dungeon is just gonna have? Why are you assuming that that's what the reason they cut down the personas?
I'm so sick of this Persona theme thing. I don't want to have to go and look up Kanji's palace and see if there's... I remember the big naked Hulk Hogan dude, but that was really about it.
Are only weak to light, an element only Joker can have, or Psi and Nuclear, which is what Haru and Makoto would usually cover, but they need to be the healing batteries for the party.
Why? Why do they need to be that? And
Haru can't heal. She literally does not have a heal move. He's a fool.
And it sounds like your big punch monkey team is not working here. So maybe that's not always the quote-unquote optimal team?
Adhesive 3 because Joker's gonna be wasting a lot of fucking mana down half.
But why can't you just punch him?
One cool thing about this dungeon though, and it's that despite the lackluster persona choices, there is a type of enemy made specifically for this dungeon that isn't a persona you could acquire, and that's the Corpo Robos. And there's a lot of different variations of them. They could be small, giant, or lanky, and every type has a different weakness. They fit the theme of the space station nicely, and is a great addition to this dungeon. It does make me wonder why no other dungeon has specific enemies for them though, since it could have helped with dungeons not feeling so stale, especially Futaba's. The end of the dungeon is nothing to write home about. You find the treasure after the airlock puzzle and you send the calling card. Okamura sets a trap for you and locks the Phantom Thieves in a cage.
What? Why does he keep saying this? It's not his name!
But he has such problems with them saying Sakamoto. Sakamoto.
It's the names of your party members. Why are you getting this wrong?
So frequently. Because it sounds right to him. And I guess that's good enough.
How did we get stuck here? We're smarter than this.
Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
But Morgana manages to not get caught and frees the others. And he gives this really long shit speech, which I guess is supposed to be his redeeming moment from his bitch.
Think it's bad. Why is it bad? You've not said why it's bad. You just said it's bad.
Supposed to be his redeeming moment from his bitch fit at the start of the arc, but fuck you, Morgana, I still hate you, you piece of shit.
You hate him, so you're already negative about his speech. Of course, I hate Akechi, so of course I'm gonna be like, everything he does is crap.
Yeah, he could literally piss gold and give it to me, and I'll just be like, you piece of shit.
He had some good moments in Royal.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. But he did.
But you recognize the good moments.
No, absolutely.
Unlike this guy going, this bad speech.
They count down for the space station to blow up, which is 30 minutes long, and then the boss fight begins. The fight is really boring, and you have to go
It's boring. Boring, boring, boring. Long, boring. Short, boring. Boring, boring, boring. Repetitive, boring.
Fight is really boring, and you have to go through several waves of basic robot enemies before fighting the one boss-like robot, with a move that can kill you in one hit if you don't defend, making you have to
defend! Maybe defend when he charges up and Futaba goes, defend! Why did I die? Cause you didn't defend? Maybe?
hit if you don't defend.
Why does Ryuji have so much health? Did he defend with Ryuji exclusively?
Yeah, it says
it looked like it missed.
Yeah, that's all.
Why didn't you? This was done purely for the video. It had to be just to go look at this bad part. They literally tell you to defend. If you don't defend, you stupid. Oh, I can tank this. What? I died? Yes. Yes, you did.
Restart the fight from the first wave of robots. It's not difficult though, and the fight can be finished with more than 15 minutes left on the clock pretty easily. After the fight, the crew tries to get answers about the mental shutdowns out of Okamura's shadow, and he reveals that he simply paid for people to get eliminated, but didn't know the specifics of it. And now, if you didn't think the plot had enough holes, get ready, because this next part is the worst so far. For all the other palaces, after beating the palace's shadow and getting whatever information they needed from them, the Phantom Thieves watch them fade back into reality and rejoin with their real selves to complete the heart change. But for some reason, when talking to Haru's dad, they decide that the self-destruct is too important, even though I saw it 18 minutes after beating the boss fight, and leaves before he rejoins his...
Are you really going?
Yes, he is. He most certainly
The time I have left should be the time it has in the palace?
No, it's self-destructing. Let's peace out. We know what's gonna happen. Yeah, he's gonna disappear, and then he's gonna be cool in the real world. They don't need to see him disappear. They already listened to his admittance of his guilt. So it's all just cut and paste from here.
Haru even asks if they should take her dad's shadow, but Morgana assures that he'll be fine. Then literally a second after Haru leaves the frame, her dad's shadow gets shot from off screen.
It's almost like Akechi waited until they left to shoot and kill him. What's the problem?
Screen, and the black masked criminal comes onto the frame and finishes him off execution style. This means that they didn't change his heart, but he's going to suffer from a mental shutdown. The Phantom Thieves had 8 people leaving the space station, and not a single one of them even thought to look back ever to see that the criminal was standing right there.
Why would they?
They are out of the room, assumedly.
And even if they aren't, they're all running to escape this palace, and they know what's gonna happen. Why would any of them look back? That's like asking, why didn't anybody look back while they were running down Futaba's pyramid? Why would they?
They're about to die.
Back in the real world, Haru takes the whole team to Disneyland to celebrate and watch her dad's press conference, where right before revealing what really was behind his mental shutdowns, he suffers a mental shutdown himself. Haru runs away, and everyone is left wondering what could have possibly happened. Morgana especially is adamant that they followed the same steps, and no one brings up that they walked away from the shadow before checking if it went back into reality. The stakes continue to rise as the Phantom Thieves wonder what's in store next.
What more could they have done? They did the exact same things that they always did.
They just didn't have the time to sit around because the space station was self-destruction.
Yes, that's the only thing. But they did everything else like every other time. Why should they assume that any other thing is different here?
Moore dies mid-press conference.
That's not his name.
It's not his name.
Phantom Thieves are blamed for his death, and public opinion shifts rapidly. As the police involvement with the mental shutdown cases increase, the group turns their attention to trying to find a way to clear their names. They decide to lay low for a while they figure out a plan. Haru is distant from the rest of the group for some time to process her father's death and talking to the police. In a scene where the police are searching her house and Sai is questioning her, she overhears an investigator tell Sai that a calling card was found in the principal's office. Haru calls up the Phantom Thieves and asks them if they targeted the principal, which they deny, and she apologizes for doubting them. Then Makoto figures out that you've probably been set up all along before you leave. This interaction was needed for the whole team to get back together, but looking at it from Haru's perspective, it doesn't seem like something she would do, or should have done. Haru has known the Phantom Thieves for less than a month, 26 days to be exact, and from the time she's known all of them, you've done nothing but wander around a space station and got her dad killed. Haru has gained nothing from being introduced to the...
What about all the stuff she knows the Phantom Thieves have done before?
What about the stuff that Morgana's told her?
Group. Her new friends who assured her that they could help her dad actually caused him to die, and then she sees that the police are frantically trying to figure out who they are so they can stop them, and learns that they also killed their school's principal. No one in their right mind would try to go back into contact with them just because they seemed nice, no matter how much of a perfect nice girl anime cliche.
Or she asked them, did this happen? Did you guys do this? What's the story behind this? Why didn't you guys tell me anything about the principal? Because we didn't do it. Oh, cool. So there's something else going on here. We changed the hearts of 3 definitive people in Futaba and everything went fine. What happened here? What happened with the principal? Somebody's framing us.
Or a doormat you are. Despite this, Haru still asks to meet with everybody, and in the meeting simply asks if they killed the principal and then moves on when they say they didn't. She doesn't even entertain the thought that maybe these people are bad enough to murder their principal and her father, that maybe they would lie about this. She just asks them and accepts.
Hey, maybe she believes in them. That's possible, right?
Look, we changed these 3 people definitively, provably. And Futaba, which isn't really provable or whatever. But these 3 people all had press conferences / Kamachiro went in front of the whole school and said his guilt and his faults and everything. Why wouldn't she believe him?
Their answer at face value and then apologize.
What gain do they have by killing her dad? What?
Apologizes multiple times via text messages when everyone else should be apologizing to her. Either way, she's a permanent part of the team now. After this, there's a lot of story events taking away control from the player. Futaba uses her hacking skills to figure out that their website has been tampered with, making Okamura the #1 result in the poll, and that the same person also made the threat to the economy posing as Medjed. Obviously, Makoto takes charge here to explain that this has all been a big trap and that you're set up by the person who's...
I like how every time he talks about her figuring it out, she goes, my theory, perhaps.
I think. Maybe.
She gives them discussion points, and you're going, she figured out the entire plot.
causing the mental shutdowns so they can make you take the fall. Makoto also learns that Sai has been put in charge of the investigation of the Phantom Thieves, and the investigators come to the school to question every single student. The police plot takes a backseat as the school festival approaches, which your group has to organize, of course, and Makoto once again single-handedly comes up with the plan to invite Akechi as a guest speaker at the festival, since he's going to have information about the investigation into the Phantom Thieves that they can't get from Sai since she's been distant lately. At the festival, he gives a speech which he nearly reveals their identities when asked who the Phantom Thieves are, and then in a private meeting with the group, he explains that he has proof of you visiting the metaverse. His proof consists of pictures and videos of you entering the metaverse by disappearing in the middle of the street, that thing that none of your team questioned doing for months, because it turns out people do notice when a group vanishes into thin air in the middle of a busy area. It's not—
He knew about the metaverse, so he knew what to look for, so he knew to hold his camera up at the time when you are appearing or disappearing. But yes, no, this is bad.
Hearing from a trash can, because they're humans. Akechi threatens to turn you in unless you work with him to help figure out who the real culprit behind the mental shutdowns is, since he believes that you're not the ones who's been killing them, as well as disbanding the Phantom Thieves once you're finished with this case. He asks you to give him an answer later and leaves. Back at LeBlanc, Sojiro finds Futaba's calling card and sits the both of you down, and you're forced to reveal the truth to him. Since he's a bro, he just asks you not to do anything stupid and says he'll keep taking care of you, and basically becomes an honorary party member. Everyone decides to meet up and discuss their next steps and the massive rewards that have been put on the Phantom Thieves. But what actually happens in this meeting is that everyone talks about how they're only being targeted now because they let fame blind them when choosing Okamura as their target. Morgana says that they weren't acting like themselves. Yusuke says that they only cared about the opinion of the general public, and says that they got caught up in making an—
Yeah, they went to the top of the pole and went, let's target this guy.
As opposed to somebody personal to themselves.
Or that they just decide on their own to go. They went, hey, all these people are voting for this guy. Let's
check 'em
target
out.
this guy.
themselves, and Haru says that they lost sight of their original cause. They end the meeting by deciding to fight back against the person targeting them, but this whole scene is bizarre and doesn't fit with any of the events that have happened at all. The entire fight with Morgana leaving the team happened exactly because they didn't want to act hastily. Several of the members,
And then they technically did.
were wary of acting on the whims of the
Since it happened, you know, as you said, 4 days later.
public. They actually decided to target Okamura because they looked into and saw that he had a palace, saw that he was
After he was the top result on their site.
And two people went, maybe he's not evil because we don't know what's going on here. But they still decided, go, let's investigate him. Just because he's number one.
his workers, and had all of Sai's research to point to him being the link between the mental shutdowns. And he was also planning to sell off his one and only daughter, who just became their friend. Him being the #1 website ranking was just a bonus. During that arc of the game, Ryuji—
No, because would they have even looked at him if it didn't?
No. He's just some dude that's maybe linked to the mental shutdowns and the whole selling her off. Well, that could, you don't really need to go into his palace to change that. That's probably a couple conversations, the social link.
who couldn't shut up about the rankings and the fans, which has pretty much been his only character trait after the Kamoshida arc. So that's not really out of line with him, even if it is stupid. Everyone else is more concerned about other factors, and that's not even getting into how stealing a palace's treasure has only ever been a good thing. And even though Haru's dad died—
If they only didn't walk away for no reason, none of this would be happening. They did walk away for a reason. The palace was collapsing.
Self-destructing, even though you only have 18 minutes left.
a good thing. And even though Haru's dad died, there was still positives that came out of it, like Haru not being forced to move in with a man who was going to rape and—
Yeah, but her dad's dead.
Yeah. That's really
You
bad.
can look at the bright side of it, absolutely. But her dad dead.
Yeah. And they are now despised within the public opinion for
And
being
then
multiple
in
murders.
Haru's social link, you're still supposed to marry that guy. Until the president goes, I only wanted you to marry him because I thought that's what you wanted. As you yourself, Cvit, pointed out in her social link.
And also, when Joker is perceived to be dead, she's shown in a limo with him.
It's like the game forgot its own plot and how the characters—
No, it didn't, because it comes up several times after this.
Actually considered every possibility before targeting Okamura, and then tries to paint it as them being selfish and
Because would they have even targeted him if he wasn't the very top of the list?
greedy, when that's the exact opposite of what happened. And
it's not the exact opposite. You could say it fell into place very well, conveniently fell into place. But it wasn't a complete opposite of, we're doing this for selfless reasons. They went, whoa, he's the number one dude. Let's see what he's about. Him. Whereas everybody else, they either were going through it personally or they kind of stumbled into the problem.
Especially were very vocal about not going after Okamura. So I guess
until 4 days later
when they saw the injustices.
Text messages that they were hyped in to go after him were supposed to be the retcon. There's honestly no way to tell with Persona 5. Something else that bothers me about this scene is the line that Haru says when they're having their pity party, that they lost sight of their original cause. Because as I've covered before, Haru has only...
Yeah, but they needed her to say something.
No, I don't think so. Because I think when she first came with Morgana, she wanted to be a righteous thief in the night. And she sees the Phantom Thieves as that. So we're meant to be this thing, yet my dad dead.
Known you for less than a month and wasn't actually around for any targets other than her dad. So she has no right to talk about the original cause. If anything, she accomplished.
No. Yeah, I guess the original cause thing is bad.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Oh yeah, the righteousness. I wasn't paying attention to the original cause. Yeah, that's bad.
Accomplished her goal of not being forced to move in with this asshole. So she was actually very faithful to her cause. This seems like a line that was written with the expectation that Haru would have been in the party for far longer than she was, because this line makes sense coming from literally any other character, even Futaba. Afterwards, you get a call from Ryuji, and here he seems to have some self-awareness for once in his life, talking about how maybe he hasn't changed since opposing Kamoshida, and the prospect of being a real-life hero.
But weren't you saying how his social link was all about him completely changing, and now Ryuji's going, hey, maybe I haven't changed. So the way he acted, maybe it's still within character.
Went straight to his head. This is a touching scene going by his actions in the main story so far, but when you consider Ryuji's confidant, it ends up falling flat. In his
Why?
confidant, he talks about how he's past what happened with Kamoshida, is done holding grudges against others from that time in his life, realizes he can't keep
in the phone call, didn't he say, maybe I haven't changed?
No. He didn't say, he said he was done holding those people accountable. But he's not saying, he's saying maybe I haven't changed since Kamoshida. Maybe me as a person hasn't grown. I've gotten rid of all that past baggage, but maybe I'm still the piece I was or I saw myself as before.
People can't have doubts in his mind. Everybody needs to be on the straight and narrow.
Everyone else.
And now they're going through this and he's going, am I still just looking for another person to be the problem as opposed to me, myself being the problem?
For his personal problems, and most importantly talks about being free. All of the things that Ryuji said during his phone call are things that he said during his S-Link. It's just a fucking repeat, and it sucks.
What if you didn't do that?
And takes away from this scene even more because the phone call happens whether you complete his S-Link or not.
What if he didn't do that?
What if he's just reaffirming his beliefs? What if he's just speaking his mind? What if he's, after they killed a man on live TV, maybe he needs to just get his emotions out?
Self-reflect and all that.
This scene could have been the crescendo of Ryuji's arc, realizing he keeps saying he's changed but never actually ends up acting on the changes. And because it happens either way, the scene doesn't reach its full potential of Ryuji realizing how shallow he has been. It shows
it does. He admits that he's been very shallow and he will not act like that again. And he curves that later.
So what's the problem here?
What does
now, we say it a lot of times. What's the problem? What does he want? But legitimately, what is the problem here? If you didn't do the S-Link, this is a complete arc for Ryuji within the main story itself, because you see all of this impulsiveness and him potentially changing and then eventually actually changing because of this moment. And if you've done the S-Link, it just shows that, hey, maybe he actually hasn't changed, and now he's expressing those doubts and going, no, I'm going to change, which furthers that.
Problem.
There was legit no correct answer here.
Shows once again how little the game cares about the confidants and the growth that characters experience in them. After this group meeting that makes no sense, we're immediately treated to another group meeting that makes no sense.
No sense.
This time,
We're about to stop this video. We're about to stop
boring, long, repetitive, makes no sense.
He's really starting to irritate me. We're about to stop this. This recording's ending soon.
To ask for your answer to his request, he reveals that Sai has a palace, something which Makoto says she already knew, because of course she did, and asks you to help him change Sai.
Sai Nijimura found. Okay, she has a palace. My sister is acting weird. She's acting super impulsive. I want to change my sister back to the loving justice lady that she was, as opposed to her calling me useless and getting snippy at me. So let me check. Oh, she does.
It's hard to impact the police investigation. The group is apprehensive at first, and the one thing that wins them over is Akechi saying, "What if I told you that those around her would turn a blind eye to false evidence?" Which they react with surprise to, once again, like they completely forgot that they already knew that the police were forging evidence.
Then why do you keep telling people to go to the police?
Pause. What? Pause. My God. Play and then pause real quick. Who said that this was forged? They didn't send it, but yeah, they don't know that the police forged it specifically. You're implanting that.
Calling card was found in the principal's office. The police forging evidence isn't something new.
Who said that's the police?
Who said it? Who said it's not the person that's against them and that killed her dad and causing the mental shutdowns?
Like it is for some reason. In the end, they agree to work with Akechi and search the casino together in their next meeting. When they meet to go into Sai's palace, they once again start trying to figure out her keywords and throw out random guesses until they get it's a casino.
That's a good place to stop, right before the casino.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised he didn't mention the Okamura theme in the palace, because that was actually not that good.
What do you mean?
Prices are great. Okamura.
Oh, the actual music.
Yeah, the music. Because that one was just like... Yeah, that wasn't too good. So, it was so, like, unmemorable. It didn't even get a song in Dancing Starlight.
Of course.
But Price did, and Price is really good. Oh, my goodness! This is... at least we don't have to do this for a little bit.
What do you mean? I said we were doing this in 2 sessions.
No, I'm saying, what are we talking about? Like next Wednesday, maybe?
This Wednesday
coming up. Yeah, this Wednesday coming up.
That's not a little while.
That's enough time. This is, hopefully we can get this over with.
No, it's ending Wednesday.
You don't know that.
No, we will sit here for 7 hours if it.
I won't. You say I will. I'll be here, but I won't be here.
You're gonna mentally shut down.
Yeah. Oh boy, you go hear some. You just go hear grunts from me.
Futaba.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nah.
Word. Yeah. I guess that's it for this session. We've got one more.
Maybe.